This is San Francisco Car News. It's your look at what's new, a market report on the best buys, reviews of the new cars, inside tips on collector cars, no-nonsense service and maintenance hints to help you save money, video classifieds where you and your car are the stars, and more. This is San Francisco Car News. What do you think? Little hokey? Well, you know, these aren't suspenders. These are shoulder harnesses from a race car. I'm Keith Martin, your host for Car News, the TV show dedicated to bringing you the latest reviews of new cars, information on rebates to save you money, interviews with technicians so you can keep your car running better, smoother, longer, and information on collector cars like this one. Now, I'm having the time of my life today. I'm at Fantasy Junction, sitting in a race car. And we'll come back to Fantasy Junction a little bit later on, but right now, let's go review a new car. Car News. I like this show. Car. And some people think they all look alike. With over 240 models for you to choose from today, what's a manufacturer to do to make his or her car stand out? Now with Mercedes, they put a three-pointed star on the hood. With Chrysler, they have their new cab-forward design. With Subaru Impreza in the subcompact wagon category, they have this very interesting window at the rear. Now is this just a styling gimmick? No. This is an indication of how much space there is, how much carrying capacity in this subcompact car. Let's take a look in the back. With the rear seats folded down, you have over 110 cubic feet of cargo carrying capacity. What does that mean? It means you've got room for 6 or 7 full-size suitcases. Or, if you've got a small dog, there's enough room there for you to let him give himself a walk while you drive down the freeway. Oh, where do they put the spare tire on these small cars? Where's the spare tire? I'm glad you asked. Right here, easy to get at. Now you've got little trays for miscellaneous items, rear speakers in the back, and a reservoir here for the rear window washer. That's a nice feature in a car of this class. Let's see how this Subaru stacks up against the competition, against the Nissan Sentra XE, the Honda Civic LX,
no more
the Toyota
charts and
Corolla.
graphs.
Yeah. Standard on the Subaru. So much for the competition. Now, let's take a look in the back seat. The back seats have a 60-40 split the way they fold down. That gives you some more cargo carrying options. Now, if you fold the back seat up, you've got plenty of room here for family and friends, but you still have room in the back for a lot of luggage. Let's take a look behind the driver's wheel. The first thing you'll notice is a standard driver's side airbag, something that I think is very important. This car has the optional 4-speed automatic transmission with overdrive. That means on the freeway, the overdrive kicks in and you get better gas mileage. In fact, the federal government says this car gets 23 miles per gallon around town and up to 28 miles per gallon on the freeway. This Subaru also has optional all-wheel drive full-time. It's a very intelligent system. What does that mean? It means if your rear wheels are spinning, it sends more power to the front wheels and vice versa. Now let's take a look under the hood. Now the first thing that we notice is that all of the places that you add or check fluids are very well labeled. So if you can read or understand pictures, you should have no problem getting things right down here. Now this is a horizontally opposed 4-cylinder engine. It's not a... Is that a good idea? You know, honestly, I don't know, but you might check with 2 other manufacturers who use horizontally opposed engines. They are Porsche with their 911 and Ferrari with their Testarossa. While your automotive requirements may make you part of the large crowd, the car you select should make you one of the select few. The Subaru Impreza, from its 110 horsepower up front to its huge 110 cubic foot cargo capacity in the back, and a little style front end to boot. Consider it, Subaru Impreza. Impressive? Impreza. Good show. I think I'll stick with the rest of it.
If you're looking for a pickup, I don't know anywhere that has a selection like we do here under one roof at the San Francisco Auto Center. And one of my favorites is this Mazda. It rides so nicely, almost like a passenger car. Isuzu, they must be doing something right. They're the oldest truck maker in Japan. Good price. Nissan has the highest horsepower and the best gas mileage. Pretty neat trick. Here's the pickup we've been waiting for a long time. It's the new Toyota in the larger size. The amazing thing, look at the bed. It's as big as the one in a full-size Ford or Chevy. but it's got a much better warranty on it. And just look at that bed, it's 8 feet long. See all of these great trucks at the San Francisco Auto Center.
I'm here talking with Bruce Trenery at Fantasy Junction, a place where people and the cars they collect seem to come together. We're talking about what makes a car collectible. Why do people like some cars better than others? Which cars are the best investments? Now, Bruce, you think I'd be better off sticking with the Mustang and maybe not keeping a garage full of Corvairs, huh?
I think you might be wise to assume that, yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about this first car here. It's a Bugatti. Can you tell me something about it?
Well, this is a 1932 Bugatti Type 55 8-cylinder twin-cam supercharged car.
Is this a desirable car?
There's only one of these in the world of this type, and yes, I would have to say it's a very desirable
What's
car.
the asking price?
The asking price on this one, Keith, is $675,000.
All right, now, I'll offer you 4.5. Will you take it?
Not today.
Not today. I'll come back tomorrow. All right, now this is a Ferrari, right?
Yeah, this is a Ferrari 250 Lusso.
And what's the asking price on this?
This car is $178,000.
And is that a good value for this car?
It's a good value. These cars have come down from $550,000, and 10 years ago we used to sell them for $25,000. So it's an interesting market.
So but now it's kind of a little bottom right now.
It's kind of leveled off at under $200,000.
Okay. Now what about this Porsche? I see Porsche coupes for around $15,000. Can I buy this car for that?
No, they look just like this, Keith, but this particular one's kind of a factory cheater. This was made for SCCA racing and has aluminum hood, trunk, doors, plexiglass windows, and light
So, and it's maybe worth $30,000 instead of $15,000?
Actually, there's only about 10 of these, and it's worth about $125,000.
So one of the things that makes a car collectible is the rarity.
I think that that's one of the things, and I think also probably whether that particular car shaped the market in any way.
Whether it really was significant.
That's right.
Now what about this? This is a Porsche. Here's a convertible. How much is this car?
Well, this looks like your normal garden variety cabriolet Porsche, but it's actually a Porsche Carrera with a 4-cam motor. And again, it's a very rare car, and this car is worth in excess of $125,000.
How many of these did they make?
I'm not sure of exactly how many. I would say it's in the very few hundreds.
So not thousands and thousands.
Absolutely not.
And I see here a Ferrari. Is this what they drove in Miami Vice?
Yeah, the one they had in Miami Vice, I think, was built on a Corvette chassis with a plastic body, but this is the real thing.
So that one was probably a little bit less valuable.
Right.
Okay, and is this car collectible?
Yeah, this is a Ferrari Daytona, and I think they made 1,300 Daytonas altogether, and they made 125 original convertibles. And then later, many of the convertible coupes were cut into convertibles, as was this car.
So, and did that increase its value?
That increased the value of the car approximately the amount that it cost to do it.
Now, someone told me that this was a desirable Ferrari because it's the very last of the front-engine cars, the sports cars.
Of the sports cars, it's true, and these are incredibly powerful 4.4-liter V12.
Okay. Now, there's another Ferrari over there. It's a Testarossa.
Right, that's a modern-day supercar.
You think it's collectible?
They made an awful lot of them, and it'll take a long time probably before they go up like the lower production models, but they're a wonderful car to drive. It's a trade-off. You know, some of the collector cars are easier to drive, and some you almost just look at.
So you think this car would be good to buy if you wanted to actually drive your car?
If you wanted to use the car on a more regular basis, the Testarossa is a wonderful car.
Okay, now there are a couple of cars back here I like. Now, this is a Shelby.
Yeah, that's a 67 GT350, which is a small-motored Shelby.
Is the 67 the best year?
67 is the last one that was actually produced by Shelby. After that, they were done by Ford. But really the best year would be 1965.
And how much is this car?
This one's just about $20,000. If it were 65 in the same shape, it would be about $50,000.
Now, I really like this car. It's a Model A. It's
Yeah,
a nice
Model A
color.
Ford.
Yeah. Now, what makes that car collectible?
Well, they made an awful lot of those cars. That's a sport coupe, which looks like a convertible, but it's actually a fixed-head coupe.
Uh-huh.
And that's a great car for somebody to go on picnics and have a good time and go on tours with.
And how much is that car?
That one's $7,850.
So is it possible to say that for a mile of motoring pleasure, you could get a lot of fun out of that car?
You could have a wonderful time with the Model A Ford. You can have a wonderful time with the Shelby Ford. You know, basically, when you get into the Bugatti, very few people are going to use it for much of anything except for tours and shows.
So when you go to buy a car, a collectible car, should you buy it with your head, with reason and logic and an eye to your bank account, or with your heart to the fantasies that you've had about a car you've always wanted to own?
I've always felt that if you really like a car a lot, it's likely that somebody else is going to like it a lot as well. And you're really better off buying with your heart.
Always with your heart. Then
Most of the time with your heart.
Then if the car goes down, at least you still got the car, right?
That's right. You can enjoy what you have. If you only bought it because you thought it would go up and you didn't buy it because you like it, then you're sunk if it goes down.
Investigative reporting. It's the mark of professionalism. It's the key to success. It's the road to an Emmy. Car News wants that Emmy. And how are we going to get it? We're going to track down and reveal the secret person, the obsessed, the fanatic, the person who lives for their car day and night. Now we're following car fanatic spoor here. Empty gas can, good sign. Old exhaust pipe. Look at this. A used floor mat. Folks, I think we've got it. More clues. Toolboxes, air compressors, tasteless calendars on the wall, disheveled car parts in the back, bottles of oil. This is it. Hi, I'm Keith Martin, investigative reporter for Car News. I'd like to ask you a few questions about yourself, your life, your car, and anything else I can think of, because I'm on my way to an Emmy. First, what's your name?
Michael.
Michael. Michael, this is the most beautiful car I've ever seen. What is it?
It's a Lotus 7.
Lotus 7. Did you just buy it like this?
No, I restored this car.
How did it come? What shape was it in? Did it just need a little touching up here and there?
No, I was missing a few parts.
Like what? What was it missing?
The engine, transmission.
There was no engine, no transmission. What else?
Gauges,
No gauges,
seats,
no seats,
bodywork.
no bodywork. Well, so how big was this car? I mean, how much would it all fit in a basket?
A pickup truck, maybe.
Now, how many hours did you put into this car, Michael?
Well, it took 15 months. I don't really count the hours.
15, and how many hours did you work on this just on Sunday afternoons?
Every evening as well.
And every evening?
Yeah.
For about half an hour?
No, more like 3 or 4 hours, depending on phone calls.
3 or 4 hours a night, and then all day on Saturday and Sunday?
All day on Sunday, Saturdays sometimes.
Saturday sometimes. Now, did you paint this car?
Yes, I did. There was no bodywork on it when I bought the car, so I had to completely assemble the bodywork, make it all fit, make it all straight, and paint it. And it took 8 weeks.
Okay, now, what about you built the motor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if the motor needs some work, do you take it to a Lotus dealer somewhere and tell them to fix it for you?
If they existed, it would be nice. They don't exist. They haven't existed since the 60s, so you do everything yourself with these cars.
Now, when you go to have the oil change on this car, do you take it down to Minute Lube? It'd save you a lot of time.
Well, there aren't not a long line of Lotuses at Minute Lube, I don't think. I do everything myself that I can. It's nice to have a friend who's a machinist or something, but that's the only thing I can't do is hardcore machine work.
So you put the whole car together.
Mm-hmm.
Were there some multi-page instructions, like a book, How to Assemble a Lotus 7?
Actually, the book came out subsequent to my building the car.
You
which is a
finished the
sad
car
part.
and then you read the book?
Yeah,
I see.
pretty much.
Now, with this car done and in such beautiful condition, it almost seems like it should be in your living room and not move. What do you do with this car?
Well, I wish it would fit in my living room. I put it in 2 doors, I can probably do it. You know, the car is for occasional road use, and I race it as well.
Not on the track.
Of course. Where else do you race?
Well, maybe on the freeway. I don't know. Aren't you worried about damaging the car?
I'll fix it again.
Michael, I just have one more question. That night when they give out the Emmy Awards, when I'm sitting in the audience and they call my name, why walk up to the stage? I would be honored and pleased if you would walk up there with me. How about it?
I think I'll be working on my car that night.
Okay, then how about a ride right now?
Okay.
The Chevrolet Model 490. Now, it's not a very catchy name. How did it come about? Simple. In the teens, everybody knew the price of a Model T Ford, $490. Chevrolet introduced a car, the same price, $490, called it the Model 490, and gave it more features and benefits than the Model T had. Was it a success? In the first 17 days of production, they sold 46,000 of them, netted Chevrolet over $23 million. What did Ford do? He dropped his price. His car became $478.
This is a 93 Alfa Romeo Spider in what I think is the only color they should come in, this lovely red. As you probably know, these cars have been around for many, many years. This is really the essence of traditional sports car motoring. Here at the Auto Center, we have a number of other sports cars, and starting with this Plymouth Laser, which is maybe almost the opposite of the Alfa. It's a closed car, a 2+2 twin-cam turbo, all-wheel drive. Sort of state-of-the-art technology in a very aerodynamic shape. Next to it is the newest RX-7, regarded by a lot of experts as one of the best sports car designs ever, with a lot of evocative touches from the classical European sports cars in a thoroughly modern shape. with a 255 horsepower twin turbo rotary. Next to it is the Mazda Miata. I suppose if I have to tell you much about the Mazda Miata, you're really not in the market for a sports car anyway. Pretty nice range of cars here, and it's probably not a bad time to mention that more people buy sports cars from us here at the Auto Center than from any other place in the area. That probably tells you something about how we price them. We certainly do try to make them attractive. Going on from the Miata is the 300ZX Nissan, which, along with the RX-7, are probably the two cutting-edge sports cars in the world today. And then, finally, for someone who needs a back seat, still wants some fresh air and a very crisp, sporty car design, is the 240SX Nissan convertible. And so if you want a sports car, you have to come to the San Francisco Auto Center.
Times have changed. Buying a car isn't the same decision it used to be. It used to be just what you wanted for yourself. Now there's a whole host of elements that come into play. Environment, conspicuous consumption, using only what you need. Now, Car News wants to help you make the right decision when you go to buy your next car. We found two cars that are really in the same price range, and we're going to compare them head to head, no holds barred, and we're going to tell you what we think. The first car, Car A, Mercedes-Benz 280 SL, two-seat convertible. Some people think the Mercedes is one of the best cars ever built, and what could be more fun than a convertible? The top goes up and down. But let's think about it. This car is pretty big, but it only holds two people. It uses a lot of natural resources. It has a lot of things like power windows and a top that goes up and down, a lot of extras. This is a time to leave wretched excess behind, leave conspicuous consumption behind. This is a time for ergonomics, transmogrification, transcendentalism. This is a time for Car News choice B for the individual, the 1959 Peugeot Formula Junior. Now, studies show that most trips are done with one person back and forth to the store. Why have two seats when all you need is one seat? Tired of door dings? No problem here, no doors. You want a sunroof? You've got it. You want a moonroof? You've got it. You want a roof? Nah, small problem. Let's look inside. No fancy warning lights, just gauges. You ever bumped the horn button accidentally and scared yourself? No problem here. No horn button. And what's this? It's a fire extinguisher, and I can see why it's there. Let's take a look under the hood. Well, there's nothing under the hood. Let's take a look in the trunk. Now, not much room for groceries, but the engine fits in very neatly, and you can always tell if it's running right by just turning around and looking. A lifetime guarantee on the exhaust system. No need for muffler replacement because there's no muffler. Let's sum it all up. If you're living in the 70s and the 80s, if you need to show the world that you've just gotten a promotion, you're throwing money off like crazy, go ahead, buy the Mercedes. But if you're willing to stand as an individual, if you're willing to stand as part of the environmental movement and consume only what you need, Car News thinks that the Formula Peugeot Junior is the choice that you not only should make, but must make. You know, Car News gets a lot of mail, and some of it's complimentary. On the serious side, Ken Kahn writes to ask about tire pressures. How often should I check my tire pressures? How do I do it? I've got Marty Karp here, service manager, to answer his question.
Well, Ken, it's a very simple procedure. You should check your tire pressure at least once a month. I have here a simple pencil tire gauge. All you have to do is take the cap off the valve stem, push the end on the valve stem, and you get a pressure reading. You should keep your tires within a pound or two of what the manufacturer recommends for good tire contact to the road and good tire wear. You can find the pressures usually in the glove box on a label or possibly inside the gas cap cover.
I've just been reading about the latest rebates in this insider trade publication. There are two kinds of rebates. The kind that are generally advertised from the manufacturer directly to you when you buy a car, and a secret list that you may not know about that goes directly from the manufacturer to the dealer. Now, do you know how that list works? You go into the dealership, you buy a car, the manufacturer sends the dealer a commission for having sold you the car. Now, if I were you, I'd go in, make my best deal, then pull out a list of these secret rebates and say, by the way, that extra $500 you get back, I'd like that to go in my pocket instead of yours. Now, let's talk about some of these secret rebates. Right now on Isuzus, expiring June 30th, you buy an Impulse, the dealer gets $2,500 back. Ask them to put that on your deal. How about Suzuki's? Expiring August 3rd, Suzuki Swifts, the dealer gets $300 to $500 back. Now, on the regular rebates that you get directly from the dealer, how about General Motors Bravadas? You get $1,500 back. Chrysler LeBaron convertibles, you get $2,000 back. Now, if you're thinking about buying a new car, we at Car News think you should have a copy of this list. Call this number. We'll send one out to you right away. Then you can be fully prepared when you go in and you can make your very best deal. Let's see what else we've got here. Dodge Shadow convertibles, $2,000, a lot of money back. Subaru SVXs, $3,000, great car. Imagine an economy car that only sold 1,200 units in 5 years. Would you pull the plug on it? I would. But you know, it's a good thing VW didn't, because over the next 40 years, the VW Beetle went on to become the best-selling car of all time, selling over 15 million units.
Here's the first of the new generation of family wagons for the 90s. Like this Nissan Pathfinder, they have a lot in common. This comes in either 2- or 4-wheel drive. This Mazda Navajo typifies them too, with a lot of seating space, great headroom. And move on to this Isuzu. By the way, all 3 of these are V6s. The Isuzu, you can see, is quite tall, great seating space and load space too. This is the Suzuki Sidekick. Look at this car, it's really great. 4 doors, so there's a lot of room, but it's short. It is the car for San Francisco parking. And the Toyota 4Runner. What can I tell you about a Toyota? They set the pace in reliability and vehicle quality. Just really an incredibly good car. This is the Isuzu Rodeo. We've saved it for last because it's the best seller in this category. People who've looked at Explorers and Cherokees tell us this is the winner because, number one, it's got a huge amount of room inside. It's got the longest warranty, up to 50,000 miles, and it really is a nice car to drive. There's one thing I really should show you, though, and that's how you tell truly the trademark of the family wagon of the 1990s. It's these outside-mounted spare tires. We got a lot of them here at the Auto Center.
If 4 wheels are good, does that make 2 wheels only half good? Some people think 2 wheels is twice as good as 4 wheels. Motorcycles, Harley-Davidsons, Ducatis, Moto Guzzis. We hear more about these motorcycles all the time. We even had some of our viewers write in and ask why it was just car news. Why wasn't it vehicle news? Well, we do cover motorcycles, we do cover trucks, minivans, cars. Now, we're here at Automobilia with manager Paul Jonkus.
Hello.
To talk about motorcycles. Paul, are there really more Harley-Davidsons around than ever before?
I think more and more are surfacing than ever before. Wide variety of them, panheads, shovelheads, pre-war, post-war.
Now, the image that we have of a Harley rider is someone in leathers with giant tattoos and a person of questionable taste, possibly on the motorcycle behind them. Is that still the case today?
A bit stereotypical there, Keith. You find a pretty wide variety of Harley riders. Even some people you used to classify as yuppies, you now find riding Harleys.
Not someone with a suit on a Harley-Davidson.
I have, in fact, seen it, yes.
Now, do you have any information here about Harleys?
Yeah, in fact, this is one of our brand new books that just came out called Harley-Davidson, the American Motorcycle.
Is this a history of the Harley-Davidson?
Yeah, it's a fairly complete history with a lot of good color photos, reasonably priced at under $30.
Now, here's an early Harley-Davidson. I think this is one of the panhead or knucklehead models.
Actually, it's just a pre-war V-twin.
Not a panhead or knucklehead?
No, they really hadn't come up with those yet. This is in the 20s.
Okay, well, anyway, and here's a picture of the motorcycle, just like the one that Marlon Brando rode in The Wild One, where he tied the trophy to the front and rode around the town square.
Actually, that was a Triumph Thunderbird, a 600cc Thunderbird.
No, I think it was a Harley. I remember the movie very clearly.
Yeah, that's good. It was a good movie, but it was, in fact, a Triumph Thunderbird.
Now, what about Italian motorcycles?
Well, we have a lot of things for the diehard Italian enthusiasts, like this book on restoring Ducati singles. It goes back about 25, 30 years of Ducati, and includes a lot of things that are very valuable, like how to restore the Desmodronic drivetrain on a lot of the racing bikes and things like that. It's a helpful book.
Now, where are Ducatis built?
They're built in Italy.
And are they as reliable as most things built in Italy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And if we have any diehard motorcycle enthusiasts, Automobilia is the place to come for your information. Bill, I'd like to know, how often should you change your oil?
Every 3,500 miles or 6 months, whichever comes first in the city is what we recommend.
What about in the country?
There can be longer. It all depends on what your driving habits are.
Is it really a good idea to try to stretch it out and wait till the last minute to change your oil, like wait till 5,900 miles?
Why would you want to? I mean, an oil change is $19.95 here. At that price,
Well, what would an oil change do for you?
well, it'll keep you from an expensive engine repair, say. I mean, a new engine might cost you $3,000.
So you're asking me if I should be willing to spend 20 bucks to save $3,000?
That's correct.
Now, I have a question for you. I was just shopping and I found a bunch of different kinds of oil, some of them pretty cheap.
Okay.
Now, right here, this oil was only 79 cents a quart. So if you're changing the oil in my car and I give you 5 quarts of this, will you put it in?
Well, if you insisted, but what is it? I mean, it's not a name brand. It might be good, it might not. Why take the risk? Is my attitude.
What kind of risk?
Well, there again, if your engine fails and you saved yourself 25 cents a quart or 50 cents a quart, you know, it's sort of a false economy, right?
So you're saying that I'd have to save about 25 cents a quart over, let's see, if I bought 9,000 quarts of oil and my motor went bad, I'd about break even?
That's right.
All right. Now let me ask you about oil filters. We have an oil filter here. $1.87.
Okay.
Can you put that on for me?
Same thing. I could, but why take a chance?
Well, the same chance as before?
Right. We can put a name brand oil filter on with name brand oil in there. It doesn't cost that much, and you're protected.
Let me ask you a question. What about changing my oil myself? Do I save a lot of money by doing that?
For $19.95, I sometimes bring my own car in here and have it changed here because it's easier. No mess. I don't have to deal with the hassle. I don't have to dispose of the waste oil, which is,
What can you do with the waste oil if you're a private person? Is there anything?
well, you take it to a recycling center, but there, you know, it has to be properly bottled, and it's just a hassle.
You mean you take that gunky old oil, you've taken it out of your car, and then you pour it into something else, and then you put it in your car, hope you don't spill any, and then take it to the recycling center? Is that what you have to do?
You got it.
I see. Well, listen. I understand you think that name brand oil is the best and a name brand filter, but I've got one last question for you here.
Okay.
You know, I love my new car, and I really want to treat it right. And I saw a can of this stuff that says that it'll stop oil burning and make my engine run longer and smoother better. Won't you at least let me put this in?
Well, in my opinion, you don't need it. The oil that we sell you works, so why do any more?
Well, what am I going to do with this then?
Well, take it back to the store.
That's it for this edition of Car News. Have you learned something about new cars, old cars, used cars, collector cars? I bet you have, and you can learn more next time with us right here on Car News. Watch San Francisco Car News, Wednesdays and Thursdays at 10, Thursdays and Fridays at 8, here on Viacom 6.